So, Nintendo released Update 20.0 for the Nintendo Switch last night, and this includes a lot of new features. It is probably the biggest update for the Switch ever, really, but it's kind of preparing for the Switch to launch, but there are some features that you might find handy to use right now, so let's get into it. Real quick before we get started, I would really appreciate if you would subscribe to the channel and like this video. It really helps me grow and get this video pushed out to more people, so I appreciate every bit of support from you guys. So the first thing you're going to notice when you update your Switch is the bottom menu on the home screen has changed dramatically. There are two icons' colors have changed. So firstly, there's this virtual game cards menu. Now, this is one of the two icons, but this icon you can use right now. So what it does is all of your digital games that you have on your system turn into virtual game cards that can only be loaded on one system at a time. But it makes it so much easier to organize your games because you know which digital games you can use on your system unlimited. Because if you don't know already, the way that the Switch worked before is you had a primary console that you could select in the eShop. And this primary console, any user could play digital games even if like one user specifically buys them. But if you play your digital games on any other console that's not registered as your primary console, only the user who purchased those games can play it. And you essentially would have to go into the eShop and change it anytime that you want, that setting to be changed. Not anymore. So now you actually know which games are on a certain system, and there's no such thing as a primary console, because let's say I have Mario Party here. I can load Mario Party onto my second console, even if it wasn't my primary console. And I can play Mario Party with any user I want, wherever I am. I don't have to be online. It's loaded on as if it was a real game card, and I can play it unlimited. So you can arrange your physical or digital games onto certain systems, and you can essentially have your game library on whatever system you want. That's part one of this. Part two is that you can send digital games to family members. So let's say that I have a Switch Online family group, because that's what you need for this. You need a family group. So if I have a Switch Online family membership, I can add people to my family group. It's those people. So then you can send them your digital virtual game cards. You send it to them. You just have to meet up through local play, but only the first time. And this local communication allows you to essentially shake the other system. They have a local handshake, but then you can do it over the internet any other time. And I can send them my digital virtual game cards for 14 days, but you can collect them or the person can send them back before then, but up to 14 days and they're sent back. So if I share it with somebody, it downloads on their system and they can play it for as long as they want, as long as they have that game for up to 14 days. Now you can send it back whenever you want. Now there are some limitations to this system, and one of them is that you can only send one virtual game card to a specific person at a time, and you can only have 3 virtual game cards checked out at once. So I could send one game to this user, one game to a different user, and one game to a different user, but it can only be 3 games at once and 1 game per user. Now, as soon as one is returned, I can send a different one back to that user, or I can send a different one out to the other user. But it's important that you update your Switch if you want to see how it works in detail, because as much as I'm going to explain it in here, the best way to understand it is to actually test the system. Now, there's one other new icon on the bottom of your UI on your home screen, and that is Game Share. Now, this icon is going to be useless until June 5th. That's when the Switch 2 comes out. Now, this is going to be a great system. If you know somebody who is getting a Switch 2, you're going to want to be their friend, because Game Share if you remember on the DS and the 3DS, there was a system called Download Play, where you could essentially send select games to another person for local communication, and you could play together as long as you were there locally. So, like, let's say I had Mario Kart 7 on 3DS. I could send it to somebody who doesn't have it through that Download Play system, and they were able to play multiplayer with me. Now, it's only for multiplayer gaming, but it saves everybody from having to buy that separate game, their own copies, which, by the way, are $60, so saving any money you can doing this is great. Now, it's only for a select few games at the start, but this system will allow Nintendo Switch 2 users exclusively they're the only people who can send games, but Switch 1 users can receive them. So Switch 2 can send games to Switch 2 or Switch 1 for multiplayer. So if you know somebody who's gonna get a Switch 2, you can go over to their house and you can play local play, select games, and you can check Nintendo's website for which ones without you buying a Switch 2. It's really neat that you can do this, and it's a pretty pro-consumer move from Nintendo. I know that everybody's complaining about all these anti-consumer moves from Nintendo, like, oh, the price is increasing, all that. I'm not worried about that right now, but they don't talk about this, and this is a great feature that Nintendo is bringing for consumers to take advantage of. I'm really excited to use this, because I'm only going to be getting one Switch day one, but I want to play with my brother, and it's going to be nice to have our own systems to use. So, like, one of us can use the Switch 2, and then one of us can use a Switch, and we can still play certain games together. So I'm really excited to use this feature, and I think a lot of people are going to find it handy. And again, the games that you see that support this on the Switch 2 website, they're going to change. They're going to add more. So you have that to look forward to. Now, the other things you'll notice on the UI is, first of all, the news icon is no longer red, it is now green. I don't know why they did this, that's the only thing that's changed. Literally the only thing is that the icon is now green, it's no longer red. And finally, you'll notice that the eShop logo has changed from orange to red, oddly. And that's it, once again, except that the intro loading screen and the menus in the eShop, like when you actually load up the eShop, are now red rather than orange. Do I think the red looks better? Yes, I do like it better. It's nice for a change. Was this necessary? Not really. I don't understand why they did this. It's confusing to me. So now we come to the updates that aren't as obvious, but they're definitely still there. And this might be the most major update here, is that if you go to the system settings and you go under system on the sidebar, and then you scroll all the way down on the system menu, you'll see that there is an icon that says transfer to Nintendo Switch 2. So this allows you to transfer all of your saved data to a new Switch 2 console. Very simple, but there's actually something that Nintendo did for us here. Again, another pro-consumer move that's probably not going to get that much press, but you can transfer your Switch data even if you don't have your Switch and your Switch 2 at the same time. So let's say you sell your Switch before you get a Switch 2. You can transfer your data to a dedicated server, and it'll tell you like when you have to download it by. And then you can, once you get a Switch 2, you can actually download the data off of Nintendo's server free of charge. This isn't like a Switch Online benefit or anything. This is completely free of charge. Nintendo did not have to do this, but they did. And this is going to come in handy for a lot of people who like sell their Switch on eBay to save up for a Switch 2. They can just back up their system data, factory reset it, and don't do this if you're not ready to, because again, your Switch factory resets as soon as you do this, so it's probably best to wait till you're sure you're going to sell it. But if you list your Switch on eBay, sell it, you can back up your data to the cloud, and then that you can put that money towards a Switch 2 and still have your precious save data. So, very pro-consumer move, and I'm glad that Nintendo is doing something like that. I personally will not be selling my Switch, so it's not going to be very helpful for me, but I know that there are some people who will be using that, and it's going to come in handy. And this update keeps getting weirder because Nintendo decided to change the user icons, not the ones in Switch Online, but the ones in the regular user menu you can change now. So the most major change you'll notice, and this, if you go in the icons, this is probably the only one that you'll notice has changed, is that Donkey Kong is now the new version of him that's going to be in DK Bonanza and Mario Kart World. So the old version is completely gone after you do this system update, and the user icon has been replaced with the new version of Donkey Kong, which personally, I like the new version a lot better, because I really think they just did a great job with DK, but this is like the movie texture of Donkey Kong, the version in the Mario movie, so they've changed it. I think it looks great. I wish they'd kept the old one too, but, you know, it is what it is. But a variety of other user icons have changed too. I'll slap a picture on screen, but characters like Mario, Luigi, most of them actually have changed a little bit, and again, you can look at that picture, but there's a lot, whether it's minimal differences, or like, I think Mario and Luigi, they changed their eyes to look more like, the Mario Kart World texture, or Mario Wonder texture. So take a look at that image on screen, and you can see all that, but it's a really interesting update. I don't know why they didn't save this for the Switch 2 generation, but it's kind of cool, I guess. I don't know why they felt the need to do this, but okay. And those are all the new features in Switch Update 20.0. What feature are you most excited about? Make sure to let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching and have a great day.